Hi folks, Joseph Kursky here with you to help you bring in GLOBE data into a mapping package. In my view, the easiest package to map a GLOBE data with is the ArcGIS platform from Esri. The reason why is because it's easy and it's powerful and you can make web mapping applications from the data, as we'll see. So the first step to bring in the GLOBE data is as follows. You need to think about why do you want to map something in the first place. Well, you want to look at patterns, relationships, and trends. And GLOBE data has been gathered for a long time, 25, 30 years, from people all over the globe in citizen science mode. And it's gathered in lots of different themes: soil moisture, weather, water quality, etc. And in order to do that, you need to go to the GLOBE.GOV site and then go to Retrieve Data. This is the advanced data access tool. In order to do that, you're going to be able to then specify the date range, the type of data that you want, the area that you want, using these filters on the left side. It's going to result in a CSV file. In order to give you access to the CSV file, let's take a look at one right now. When you bring in one from the GLOBE site, it's going to have a few things that you can adjust later when you bring it into ArcGIS Online, but I think it's easier to adjust it right here. One thing you need to adjust is you need to delete this row. It can only have one row for the header. The header meaning the fields, latitude, longitude, elevation, number of eggs in my case, etc. Also go to the bottom of the table and make sure there's no extraneous characters. Sometimes there's extraneous characters and fields and data there. You need to delete that. The other thing you need to do is make sure that anything you want to map as numbers, you go into Format Cell and make sure they're numbers, okay? That way you can more easily map more of something in a bigger symbol or a different color or something like that. So make sure all the numbers are specified as numbers. Then save that. Once you do that, you'll have this kind of a table where I only have one header row and all of my number fields are specified and formatted as numbers. The next step is to go into ArcGIS Online. And then you go to Add Item. Now, how do you get into ArcGIS Online? If you're at a college, a museum, a university, a library, chances are your organization already has an ArcGIS Online account, in which case you just need to tap into that subscription. If you don't have an account, you can go to developers.arcgis.com and get yourself an account. If those two criteria are not met, if you're at a school, have your school tap into the free global Esri subscription. They can get a free ArcGIS Online account with your school. So however you get your account, go ahead and log into it, and then as I've done here, add an item from your computer and choose your CSV. So in my case, I'm going to go here and go to my GLOBE data, and there it is, and it's going to make a feature service. You're going to be able to map it. Let's add a few tags. Citizen science, how about? So that I can find my own data later on and other people can. So it's identifying, hey, you've got latitude, longitude, that's how I'm going to map the data, and that's perfectly fine. Now, once you've got it inside ArcGIS Online, then you've got a layer, and you can open that layer as a web map. Now it's also handy, I'm not going to spend time in this video to do it, but go ahead and, not just handy, but it's actually quite critical that you populate this zone right here with some metadata that describes the data so that you can find your own data later and other people can find your data if you share it. So let's go ahead and open it in the map viewer. Once it does that, it's going to figure out what kind of attributes I have and then map that data. So in this case, it's saying, hey, Joseph, you've got some elevation here. Do you want to map it as elevation? And I can say, well, that's kind of interesting, but I just want to map location only for right now because I just want to see the distribution of the points. Interesting. Now this is a GIS, so every single one of these 2,486 points has a row in the table. You can get the metadata as well from the identify or information button here, but notice each one of these fields came over from the CSV, from the spreadsheet. And now I can map things in different ways. I can, for example, change the style. I can make a heat map where I can look at the relative density of these. I can, as you saw, map it on elevation. I can map it on other things as well, right? So the point is that I can map these things based on the attribute, okay? Now, here's another thing that I wanted to get you thinking about as we go forward here. Let's go ahead and say, you know, I'm interested now in looking at how about the number of eggs. So if I zoom out here, I'm going to look at these, okay? Interesting. And again, I can change what I'm mapping just on this drop down. So if I want to look at larvae count, okay, interesting. And I've got that. I can also click on the options and adjust the symbology. I can change the number of classifications, the number of classes in there. I can also go to analysis and do some summarizing, some routing, some patterns, relationships and trends, all through these analysis tools running in a web browser. It's really quite remarkable. Let me show you an example of what I've done with the analysis tools. So here I've dropped a map node on Minneapolis-St. Paul, and then I buffered that by 250 kilometers. So I want to figure out how many of these data points were within 250 kilometers. Let's say I don't like that base map and I want to change it to, I don't know, something like a topographic base map. Easily done. I can also add data. So if I want to do this, I can say, you know what, I'm interested in, how about ecoregions? And I don't want to look in my own content, I want to look in ArcGIS Online for ecoregions. Okay, so now I'm going to be able to map different layers and look at the pattern of whatever globe data I'm looking at in relationship to these, in this case, ecoregions. Fascinating. So you've got access to hundreds, thousands of layers that you can look at: climate, weather, water quality, in relationship to your own data that you've collected. So really powerful to be able to do that. Okay, so now I've got an ecoregions layer in here. I'm going to turn that off temporarily because I want to be able to see how many of these data points were within 250 kilometers of Minneapolis-St. Paul. And if I go ahead and open that data table, I can see there were 9 points inside there. You can see that by me sort of clicking on and off of this. There were 9 points in there with 13 larvae. Now, you know that you can map things inside ArcGIS Online. You can symbolize, you can classify, you can run analysis tools. But let me nudge you into one more thing, and that is, let's say now, after you save it, you can share it, and now let's go ahead and say, I want to create, for example, a story map. So if I go through here and build this story map, one of the things that results is this kind of a tabbed series story map. So here I can say, here's my story map. Do I have eggs or not in my sample? False or true? I can symbolize them different in terms of color. What about the larvae count? I'm going to zoom in. Oh, so I can see over here in Southeast Asia, for example, according to this data set, there was a much higher larvae count than many other places around the planet. Interesting. And then what about our sites near Minneapolis-St. Paul? That's the analysis I ran there at the end. So this is a story map with different tabs. It's a different look and feel to it. You're presenting your information as a consumable multimedia story map. So that's one thing you can do. The second thing you can do is you can save it and share it and create an operations dashboard, as I've done here. So now I've got the data, as you can see, just like we've had it before, but now I've got little widgets. For example, method gathered container, artificial container. Did I gather the mosquito larvae in flowing water or still water? How many sites do I have? 2,486, as we saw a moment ago in the table. The larvae count, some of the data right here. Were there eggs in my sample, yes or no? So these dashboards give you a real-time sense for the data. And don't just think about doing this with globe data. Think about other data that you could map with these operations dashboards. So for more about mapping data in ArcGIS Online and also creating story maps and creating operations dashboard, wow, there's help files, there's videos, there's tutorials to build all these things. But I wanted to plant some seeds that it's really not difficult to create these. This operations dashboard, for example, took me about 30 minutes to create. This story map took me about 25 minutes to create. And bringing in the data, as you saw, from GLOBE.GOV, it was maybe 15 or 20 minutes to manipulate the table. Bringing it into ArcGIS Online took all of 10 minutes. Populating the metadata took another 10 minutes. So we're not talking about days, weeks of preparation. But now that we've got the data at our fingertips, we can analyze, we can study, we can figure out what the issues and problems are with the data that we've collected and what that says about our planet. That's the whole idea, is to be able to understand our world in a richer and deeper way with these mapping tools. Thanks for being with me, and go out and collect some data and map it and analyze it.